Tere kuulama podcasti Elukindel. See on saade muutumisest, muutustega toimetulekust, õppimisest ja ka coachingust ning supervisioonist. Minu nimi on Karl Teichmann ja minuga koos on siin Maria Tammesalu.
Tere tulemast kuulama podcasti Elukindel 7. osa. See on üks väga eriline saade ja põhjusel, et meil on saates külaline. 9. märtsil käesoleval aastal toimus esimene ainult supervisioonile pühendatud supervisiooni konverents koostöös Äripäeva ja Eesti Supervisiooni ja coachingu ühinguga. Peaesineja oli Robin Shoheti, kes on pärit Suurbritanniast ja kes konverentsi päeval esineski viimasena ja tegi näidis kliendi kohtumise, mida kõik said suures saalis vaadata. Konverentsi päevale järgneval päeval toimus Robini läbiviimisel meistriklass, kus ka minul oli hea võimalus osaleda. Konverentsi päeva õhtul tuli mulle üks äkiline mõte, et kuidas ma ei olnud varem taibanud, et teemad, mida Robin avab ja viis, kuidas ta seda teeb, võiks olla ka elukindla kuulajatele huvitav kuulamine. Aga ei lasknud seda mõtet enam käest ja peost ja asusin otsima vajalikke vahendeid selleks, et see intervjuu saaks teoks. Minu suureks rõõmuks oli Robin nõus minuga natukene juttu ajama ja niimoodi spontaansel moel laupäeva hommikul mõni tund enne lennu väljumist me hotellis Robiniga juttu puhusimegi.
Jaa, tere ka minu poolt. Ja mõned sõnad siis selle intervjuu kohta ja siis ka Robini taustast. Et see intervjuu ise on siis salvestatud sellises avalikus ruumis, mis tähendab seda, et seal taustal on päris palju sagimist ja rääkimist, et meie suurepärane helitehnik Henri aitas seda puhastada ja tegi selle märkimisväärselt paremaks. Aga samas see elu ja kihin ja kahin on seal ikkagi kuulda, et ma loodan, et need Robini mõtted jõuavad sulle sellegi poolest kohale. Ja et miks üldse Robin on supervisiooni kontekstis oluline inimene, sest tegelikult ta on üks neist, kes on selle distsipliini rajanud. Et tema alustas oma teekonda 1976. aastal, mis tähendab seda, et praeguseks on ta supervisiooni teinud, õpetanud 47 aastat. See tähendab seda, et tal on pool sajandit peaaegu kogemust. Ja seda on ka sealt intervjuust kuulda, et kui selline tihe ja tummine see kõik on, mis ta ütleb, et iga lause on täpselt selline, et selle võiks tõesti seinale raami panna. Ja kuulamise käigus ma täiesti soovitan seda teha, et mida ma ise praktiseerisin, et vahepeal paus lihtsalt panna ja natuke settida lasta, sest tõesti need mõtted on nii sügavad ja need vajavad natuke sellist aega, et jõuaksid kohale. Ja lisaks selle, et Robin on ka palju teisi superviisorid välja õpetanud, on ta ka olulisi raamatuid kirjutanud, mis on supervisiooni valdkonda mõtestanud ja selliseid õpikulaadseid asju ka teinud. Vot. Ja kuidas siis seda intervjuud võiks kuulata? Et sa võiksid anda lihtsalt võimaluse, et jälgi seda, mis sinus endas üles tuleb ja kuidas see Robini lugu, mis ta endast räägib, mis ta räägib supervisioonist, mis ta räägib inimestega töötamisest, et kuidas see sinuga resoneerub. Et see on tegelikult hea viis katsetada, et mis tunne on sul superviisori toolis istuda ja lihtsalt kuulata ühe inimese lugu ja ollagi selline kaasasolija seal.
Just. Meie oleme endiselt Maria ja Karl. Kohe kuuled intervjuud Robin Shohetiga ja siis tuleme jälle tagasi eetrisse ja jagame oma mõningaid mõtteid sellest, mis me kuulsime. Hello, Robin.
Hi, Maria.
I'm so very pleased to have you here. I'm very happy that you agreed to come to Estonia to the first Supervision conference and masterclass that took place on the second day. You have been my mentor through some of your books, and now after yesterday's masterclass, I'm really happy to say that I can call you my teacher as well.
Thank you very much.
So, tell me, Robin, how would you like to start?
I'm going to ask you, how would you like to start?
Okay. You touched many topics that actually touched deeply the ones who listened. And there were fear, for example, there were otherness, such a lovely word. There were love.
Yes.
Compassion even. What do you think? You have said that fear is something that is everywhere, and companies are led by fear.
Yes.
People are led by fear.
Yes.
Would you elaborate on that? What would be the best way to deal with fear?
First of all, to acknowledge it, because fear is very clever. It hides. If it's obvious you're frightened, that's obvious. But it comes out as judgment, comparison, criticism, avoidance, comes out as addictions. It's got very many different disguises that you don't recognize as fear. So if I say, you're no good, I don't feel frightened. But why would I need to say it? I felt insecure and I had to prove I'm better than you. So the moment when I say you're hopeless or you're stupid or whatever, I don't feel any fear. But why I work with it so much is that I say that all judgment comes from fear. All comparisons have a fear element because I have to be better than, or do you see, they're all fear-based. And why I value working so much with fear is because it's so hidden and it runs the show. And to answer your question, when we start to talk about it, it lessens its power because it gets its power from being hidden.
Okay, so acknowledging it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. What is on the other side of fear?
Well, you tell me. There is, in the Bible it says, perfect love casteth out fear. Casteth out means casts out. Perfect love casteth out fear. That's 2,000 years ago. It's not new. Because when there's real love, there's no otherness. And when there's no otherness, there's no fear.
Easy, yet so complicated.
Easy. I don't know yes, complicated. Maybe there's so much resistance. That's what makes the complication. It's the resistance to surrender, to kind of and it's interesting because I think coaching is a lot about control and outcomes and goals and success and I just thought, I can't do that. It's not the way I think. I'd be frightened. I'd be frightened of failure. Whereas the way I work is failure is to be welcomed. We learn something from it. We don't try and achieve. We sit in the process of being together. Like this morning I had a session with somebody and I said, let's just wait. Let's just wait. and we closed our eyes and we waited, and something new came. And I said, see, this is what I'm trying to model for you. Not trying to produce. I'm just saying, in the moment of waiting, in the moment of connection, something new will happen. But if you try and do formulas, you feel inauthentic. You feel like you're trying to fit people into I can't explain it. But the moment is always fresh. Like you and me right now. You look at me, I look at you. It has possibility in it. Whereas if I just said, well, A, you get rid of fear by doing A, B, C, and D, that would just be a formula. And I don't want here and now to become a new formula.
Have you experienced here and now becoming a formula?
No, because otherwise it wouldn't be here and now.
That's the paradox.
Total paradox, yeah.
Yesterday also in the masterclass you told us a lot about paradoxes.
Yes.
It's all about paradox.
It's all about paradox.
And it's fascinating.
Paradox is alive because it can't put you into a box.
Yeah.
It's just the opposite. And do you remember yesterday I talked about finite and infinite games?
Yeah.
And paradox blows your mind. It's like the Zen thing, the sound of one hand clapping and all the Zen stuff. And paradox takes you beyond your logical mind. And as somebody who was very logical and had a very good lawyer's brain, and I was good at chess and I was good at bridge. Actually, I have to go and tell the truth, but it was dope that changed my whole life because it took me from my left brain into my right brain. And so when I would smoke a joint or something like that, I would go, oh my God, this world is amazing. And I would listen to music in a totally different way. So I was very, very left-brained. I've got a very good logic. I can do that. And then at 18, 19, I don't know how old I was finished. I stopped playing chess, stopped playing bridge. I decided not to be a lawyer and just went into something that,
So you've been a lawyer as well?
No, I did 6 weeks at university. And then I went, this is crazy. I don't want to do that. Because being a lawyer, and they have a very high suicide rate. Because being a lawyer is all about right, wrong, winning, losing.
Absolutely.
And that kills you.
Yeah. But you touched this topic of dope.
Yes.
What would you say to people today who might have thought of using those things?
Well, I don't want to say I used it very differently. I used it as a form of introspection to go inside. So everybody else was partying and this, and I would sit in a corner and go, oh my God, there's no such thing as time. It's all invented. So I'd become very philosophical. So I used it philosophically, not to get high, do you see? So wouldn't recommend. I'd probably not recommend it to people now because it's not the pure form anyway, and it's become dangerous with skunk and stuff like that. So I'm not recommending dope. I'm just saying that was the way I opened my eyes. But I was very careful. I didn't. I did it to understand more about the meaning of life, not to have a good time. I was very jealous of the people who had a good time, but that wasn't my way.
Othering people who have fun.
Yes, exactly. How do you do fun? I don't do fun, I do meaning.
Yeah. But what would be the tool today to use if you are very left-brained, if you work on a field where you have to be very right? What to do then?
Hope you have a crisis. It's a lot of breakthroughs. If you read about people who've had breakthroughs, they've nearly always come after a crisis of some kind, because that left brain is so strong that you have to lose it completely. had a few experiences where I've gone out of this left brain. Like when I was in Sri Lanka and I was in hospital with hepatitis. And I thought, I can die here. And I realised I wasn't frightened. And I just had this complete peace come over me. But, I don't recommend, as a path to go to Sri Lanka and get hepatitis. It's not going to work for anybody else. So people have to find their own way. What I mean is I've done various things my way, but everyone has. What's important, and I'm glad you asked that question, is the wish to know. When you have the intent, the world gives you the means to do it. But if you start, if I do this, I'll get that, you're already into control. So you form the intention, I want to know more, I want to understand more, I want to love more. And then the universe gives you the opportunity.
Then you start to notice things.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's hope
everyone
has its
crisis.
own crisis.
Yeah. Well, even the crisis, you have to be able to make use of it. The crisis in itself could lead you into trauma. So, I realised as I said it, I didn't want to be oversimple because a lot of people have a crisis and just go into trauma, but the crisis is an opportunity. So it can go either way, into a fantastic opportunity or into trauma. And the trauma itself is an opportunity because a lot of people who are traumatised go into therapy and discover. So everything is an opportunity when you want to know.
Absolutely. Yesterday you told us about a book where a lady lost her left brain.
Yeah.
Can you please say it again? What was the name so that maybe our listeners can...
Sure. The book's called My Stroke of Insight. And stroke is when your blood clot on your brain. And My Stroke of Insight. And it's by a woman called Jill Bolte, B-O-L-T-E, Taylor. Taylor, Jill Bolte Taylor, and she completely lost her left brain, and in the right brain everything was fine as it was. It was just all like a child, a baby, full of wonder. And gradually the left brain came back because she recovered from her stroke, and she realised it didn't say a word of truth. It was only interested in its own survival, which is what's happening in the world. We don't tell the truth any longer, we're only interested in our own survival because we've become very left-brain dominant. And she said, because she'd lived so long just in her right brain, she said, no thanks, I don't want you any longer. And she says, life, everything is wonderful. Because there isn't this left-brain voice saying you're not good enough, you're selfish, you're stupid. She's learned to ignore that voice.
So a crisis again.
Yes. I just thought we could do a new form of therapy called crisis therapy. Send people off into it. But no, I have to be careful talking about crisis because, as I say, some people can't use it and some people just seem to be able to use it.
Yeah, and some people are listening this and getting very mad. What are they talking about? I should be in a crisis.
Yes.
Absolutely crazy.
Well, what a crisis does, and let's be very clear about that, is it interrupts the control. And it's the control that's the enemy. Control, because there'll always be fear behind control. Because I control because I'm frightened, and because I control, I'll always be frightened that my control will go. So as a mechanism, it doesn't work. Do you think people will think we're crazy?
Some will, but I don't care.
Good.
Control.
The world is full of control. Absolutely full of it. And I had it this morning. It's just to show you how mad. It's a tiny little incident. But I told people I saw 3 people this morning, and I told them my room number, and I assumed they'd come up. And then Yannicka said, no, you have to have a special pass in the lift. They won't be able to come up. So I had this fantasy in the middle of the night, is they would find some way of coming up, I'd go down and get them, and we would be going backwards and forwards. I thought, this is mad, Robin. You can't trust. And it was perfectly fine. I went down, one of them was there, finished a bit early for the next one, they were there. It was nothing, but the mind was going crazy. Oh my God, they could be going up in the lift. They found a way of going even without the pass. And I would be coming down to go and fetch them. And they'd be waiting outside my door, and I would be looking, would not know. It's a very, very little, tiny thing. But I was, in the middle of the night, I was worrying completely needlessly. And that's what the mind does. It finds things. Anything.
As you said, it's much easier when we realize that we are all crazy and mad.
Even those that are listening. Yeah. This kind of madness it's almost like it's been normalized. Oh, if you don't worry, you're a psychopath. And I remember in the conference talking about worry and saying, actually, it's an attack on life. It's not trusting. I didn't trust that it all would all be fine. And something very interesting, because I'm working a lot with forgiveness. And what I've come across, I give people a sentence, it's my fault that. And they just write, it's my fault that, it's my fault that, it's my fault that. And I remember this woman's, yes, exactly. And so this woman wrote, this is mad. I've written, it's my fault, my dogs bark. And we make everything our fault. And because we've made everything our fault, we think we've got to make it okay, but we can't make it okay, so we worry. I can make the connections, I don't know whether your listeners can, but that it's all connected to this sense of not trusting. So it was my fault that I didn't realise they couldn't get up in the lift this morning, you know. And that sense of it's my fault is very, very deeply ingrained in people. It's my fault that my parents split up. It's my fault that I'm not happy. It's my fault, yeah? And how does this connect to worry? Because if I think it's my fault, I've got to do something about it.
Yes, then we have something to worry about.
Yes.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that.
I know, every human being can.
My question, when I discover that I am worrying something, then I ask myself, whose responsibility is it? Is it really my responsibility? And often it's really a huge relief comes out.
Yes, sure.
You have, in such a short time, you have covered again so many deep topics. Sure. I'm in awe, Robin. I really am.
No.
Yes, just feeling inside this need to just stay in silence for a while.
Let's stay in silence.
So I would suggest anyone who listens to this to give those silent moments to just be and discover what is going on inside and outside.
Sure.
To get into contact all those feelings that you
Okay, so what happens is that the first level is quite scary, so people avoid it, because all the things that have not been dealt with come to the surface. This woman this morning that I had this morning, she said, it's just coming to the surface, I don't want to know. But she knew that she had to. So that's why we avoid it. But if you can stay there, stay in the discomfort, and underneath is love or joy or whatever. But most of us don't want to stay in that discomfort. But
at least when we now know, thanks to you, that underneath is love and comfort, then we have, again, we can make it a goal.
and it's not thanks to me, this has been going on for thousands of years. You read any spiritual text, they will say the same thing.
Yeah, but you just brought it up.
Yeah.
So it's like in this context. So there's this prize to get to when you are willing to stay in this uncomfortability.
Yes, sure.
So again, Robin, I thank you once again. I also name Jaanika Rannula, who was the one who brought you here, and Estonian Supervision and Coaching Society that held the conference together with Päripäev. And I am just full of thankfulness and joy.
Yeah, good.
And you have given a lot of food for thought, as we said yesterday. A lot of food for thought. And dear listener, if you are listening to this, I would suggest you just listen and then pause and think, and then maybe listen again. As long as it takes to just set or land where it needs to land.
And what's lovely is doing it with another person, so that you kind of listen and share together. Because on one's own, we have a great capacity to almost like deceive ourselves. When you're with another who will challenge you, you learn a lot more.
Oh yes, so actually you are proposing that people could use outside help.
Yeah, yes, but not necessarily professional help, but with a colleague or a friend that you really trust. Just saying, what is it that I don't know about myself that you can see that I can't?
Yes.
And if your friend is a good friend, they'll tell you. Or if in my case, it's my kids.
Kids are wonderful mirrors.
Yes, exactly.
It's a great exercise that you just gave us. And I invite everyone to use it. There's never enough listening in this crazy world, I would say. So, thank you, Robin.
A pleasure.
Thank you, and I hope we can see you again in Estonia at some point.
Who knows?
Thank you.
Good.
Tere tulemast tagasi. Intervjuu Robiniga sai kuulatud ja loodame, et nautisid seda sama palju kui meie.
Ja ma loodan, et sul oli aega seda niimoodi mõnusalt endast läbi lasta ja kogeda neid Robini sügavaid mõtteid. Ja see, mida me nüüd järgmisena teeme, on see, et me nopime siit mõned kohad üles, mis meid ennast kõige rohkem kõnetasid ja lihtsalt mõtiskleme veidikene nendel teemadel. Ja see esimene teema, mis mind isiklikult hästi puudutas, oli see hirmu teema. Ja see, kuidas Robin rääkis just sellest, et miks talle meeldib selle hirmuga töötada, on sellepärast, et hirm on selline varjatud asi. Ja et hirmul on hästi palju erinevaid nägusid. Ja mulle hullult meeldis see tema näide, et kui ta rääkis seda, et seal tavaliselt ju inimesed tunnevad hirmu ära, kui nad kardavad, siis nad oskavad öelda, et jah, et see on hirm. Aga nende kohtade peal, kus inimesed mõistavad teist hukka, võrdlevad, kritiseerivad, väldivad või neil on mingisugune sõltuvus mingist inimesest või olukorrast, et seal tihti ei nähta seda hirmu. Aga tegelikult see hirm on nagu kõikide nende taustal. Ja miks see mind isiklikult nii puudutab, ongi see, et ma siin viimaste kuude jooksul olen ise alles seda taipama hakanud, et kuidas sellel hirmul ongi hästi palju erinevaid nägusid. Ja see mõistmine, et tegelikult tegu on hirmuga, mitte näiteks vihaga või mingi muu sellise tugeva tundega, mille kohta saab öelda, et see on negatiivne tunne, siis see on aidanud mul saada selle selguse, et tegelikult ma ju kardan, et see tuleb hoopis selle pealt, see minu reaktsioon. ja see on andnud mulle sellise adekvaatsema, autentsema arusaamise sellest olukorrast ja see on õpetanud mulle seda, et alati tasub ikkagi küsida, et kas seal taga on hirm või see on midagi muud. Ja mulle meeldis ka see Maria küsimus, et kuidas seda hirmu siis et mis sellega pihta hakata ja et kuidas võiks sellega töötada. Ja tegelikult see Robini vastus oli hästi lihtne ju, et see tuleks nähtavaks teha, et sellest rääkima hakata. Et siis see hirm kaotab oma selle väe. Ja kui ta muutub nähtavaks, siis see on tõesti see miski, millega saab tegelema hakata, mida saab sõnastada, mida saab kirjeldada ja siis on võimalik seal ka mingeid lahendusi leida.
Ja, ma toon siia kliendi töödest ühe näite ka, et kui mina olen küll seda kogenud, et mõne kliendi ja tema hirmuga näiteks tegeled sellisel superviseerival moel ja sellel hetkel, kui klient näeb, et mis laadi hirm see täpselt on, näiteks see, et ma kardan, et ta ütleb mulle midagi, mida ma ei soovi näiteks ja siis ma väldin teda või midagi sellist üsna lihtsakoelist, mis meil igal ühel ju tegelikult igapäevasest elust ette tuleb. Et sellel hetkel, kui ta nagu selle suudab välja öelda, et see on see, siis see hirm, mida ta enne koges võib-olla hästi suurena ruumis, et ta on kirjeldanud seda kui midagi hästi suurt ja sellist kogukat, siis ühel hetkel see põmm muutub väikseks. Ja tegelikult see suurem pilt ongi ju siin see, et kogu see inimestega töötamise ütleme nii, et selline point on ju see, et aidata teisel muuta nähtamatu nähtavaks. Ja seal tegelikult ei ole nagu vahet, et mis meetodiga sa teed, et kas see on rääkides, see on joonistades, see on kuidagi liikumisega tehes. Et kui miski sinu sees, mis tekitab sulle mingit ängi näiteks või hirmu, muutub nähtavaks, siis saab sellega tegelema hakata ja seal lahendusi leida. Jaa, mõte, mis mind kõnetas või lause, mis kuidagi minu jaoks jäi niimoodi esile. Let's just sit and wait. Ja ma tundsin, et võib-olla see on see koht, mida võiks sinu jaoks hea kuulaja natuke laiendada, et mida ta selle all täpselt mõtleb, sest kui sa näiteks ei ole kunagi supervisioonis käinud ja sul ei ole päris täpselt nagu aimu, et mismoodi see protsess käib ja mis seal ruumis siis toimuma hakkab, siis see võib tunduda väga-väga abstraktne. Ja ma toongi võib-olla siis selle näite, mida ma Karliga siin varem juba jagasin, sellest meistriklassist, kus me tulime hommikul kokku ja Robin teatas, et me ei hakka ühegi harjutusega tööle. Algul ta lasi meil lihtsalt nii-öelda istuda, mõne sõnaga võib-olla midagi natukene rääkis, aga üsna pea ütles ta, et võiks teha ükskõik mis harjutust, 100 tükki seljakotis, aga me ei tee, me istume niisama. Vaatame, mis siis juhtuma hakkab. Ja loomulikult võis tajuda ruumis seda, et võib-olla kellelgi on natuke ebamugav ja kellelgi on mingid ootused, et mis mõttes, et me ei hakkagi nüüd harjutust tegema, aga see kõik on okei. Ja selle asja mõte on siis see, et tõesti selline tühitähi, sulapula mõttetus saab nii-öelda vaka alla pandud selleks, et korra peatuda ja vaadata, mis päriselt hakkab tulema üles, mis on need päris küsimused, päris teemad ja just selline sügavam materjal, et see saaks ilmneda.
Ja, et siis võibki ju selle pealt öelda, et vaikus või vaikimine kui metoodika.
Absoluutselt, vaikimine kindlasti kui meetod.
Ja see teema, mis meil Mariaga omavahel põrgatades 3. tuli, et sellele me panime sellise pealkirja nagu inimlikud eksi rännakud. Sest Robin hästi avatult räägib oma kogemusest, elukogemusest, et mida ta on teinud, kuidas tema need sisemised transformatsioonid on toimunud. Ja siis me mõtlesime, et see oleks hea koht, kus lihtsalt põgusalt peatuda. Ja see on tegelikult hea koht, kus sul, hea kuulaja, on võimalus võtta korraks see hetk, et kui sa seda intervjuud kuulasid ja endast läbi lasid, et siis, et mida sina seal kogesid, et kui sa kuulsid, et millised on need Robini elukogemused, et mida ta on teinud, mida ta ei ole teinud, mida ta on läbi elanud, et kas see tekitas sus kuidagi siukest, et vägev vend, või on pigem selline, et oota, miks ta siukeste asjadega tegeles. Et see on samamoodi võimalus otsida endast neid kohti, mis sind kuidagi käima tõmbavad, või siis sa võidki märgata, või võid sa hoopis vastupidist märgata, et sa suudadki olla selline hästi rahulik ja neutraalne, et see on lihtsalt üks inimene oma looga.
Ja üks mees ja üks lugu.
Ja ma arvan, et see üks mees, üks lugu või siis üks inimene ja üks lugu ongi see, et mida aina enam ka meie Mariaga inimestega töötades kuidagi me hakkame sellest nagu sügavamalt aru saama. See ongi see, et iga ühe lugu on hästi unikaalne, hästi eriline, iga ühe need eksi-rännakud on hästi omanäolised ja tegelikult ei tea kunagi, et kuhu need välja jõuavad. Et mõni inimene jõuab mingi täiesti uue olemiseni ja täiesti uue distsipliini loomiseni, nagu Robin seda tegi seal 70-ndatel. Ja samas mõni teine, kellel on sarnased kogemused, jõuab hoopis sellisesse kohta, et ta ei loo mitte midagi siin elus, et ta lihtsalt jääb ellu.
Just, et see hinnangute puudumine on see, millega me ju töötame. Ja võib-olla siia lõpetuseks oleks hea tuua Rumi ütlus, mida ma tõlgin täitsa oma tahtsi inglise keelest, et väljaspool head ja halba on väli. Kohtume seal.
Vau. Ja ma usun, et see mõte ongi midagi sellist, millega võiks seekord punkti panna. Ja kui sul on tunne, et seal Robini öeldus oli midagi sügavamat, mis sind puudutas, siis ma julgustan sind üle kuulama. Ja ma arvan, et ma olen vist praeguseks mingi 4 korda see intervjuud kuulanud. Iga kord mul on ikkagi veel see, et olgu, siin on veel mingi kiht, mida ma ilmalt ei tabanud. Ja nagu ikka, et meiega saad ühenduda siis Facebooki kaudu, Elukindel lehel, või siis saada meile meil elukindel@gmail.com ja siis juba järgmiste kohtumisteni.
Järgmiste kohtumisteni.